Hello, everybody, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 140. Andrew Eisen here, and E. Zachary Knight is back.
Hello, everybody. I'm alive. Yes.
Had family commitments, did you?
Yeah, my in-laws were in town for last weekend, and I as a gift, I let them have my time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This is my new place, which you can see part of.
Yeah.
And I've been here under 2 weeks. This is my second Saturday here. And you'll notice from last week that my DVD shelves are no longer wrapped in plastic. I actually took everything off the shelf, took the plastic off, took everything off the shelves, dusted the shelves, dusted all the individual cases, re-alphabetized everything, bought this shelf here. Back to me. This shelf right here is new, and because I think that's like 175 movies right there that I had it's in piles on the floor because I didn't have because I only had 1, 2, 3, and there's one more shelf that way. So I had to buy one of these, and there's another one coming because this box here is full of books. There's a couple boxes right behind me that you can't see. This stuff over here, no, that's books too. But stuff over here is all my video games, and there's about 200 of them on disc. That doesn't count all the cartridge games I have on N64 and earlier. So so I'm thinking one of these shelves is probably going to be all my disc-based video games, and then I'll just scoot everything over to these type of shelves. This is a bookcase that I haven't put anything on because I'm not sure where it's going yet. It's got a couple things on, like all my receipts and my Jack Skellington mug and my Arrow of Light from Boy Scouts. So, all
right.
And there's still no light here, so it's going to get dark. Unfortunately, I apologize for that.
So are you going to get a light to hang from the ceiling, or are you just going to get some floor lamps?
I'm gonna probably get a halogen lamp or something like that, something that stands on the floor. This is an apartment, I'm renting it, so I don't want to screw anything into the ceiling. Although I may buy a articulated mount for my television. It's currently sitting on my dresser. My dresser's in the living room, which my mom says is really weird, but whatever. I like how high it gets it. And every entertainment stand I've looked at is only like 2 feet tall. That's the problem I have. Let me show you something real quick. Let me lock the camera on me. Here, hold on. I'm only 6 foot tall. I don't know why every single media shelf out there or bookshelf or whatever is only like 4 feet tall. It's like, look at all this wasted space up here. Why aren't the shelves like 6 feet tall? You could have at least 2, 3 more shelves of DVDs going up. Oh, so irritating.
Yeah.
All that wasted space. So yeah, still moving in. No light. I do have the blinds, and so it's going to be as light as it can be for a while, but it's going to get dark and spooky. And because I wear black, eventually you'll just see my face, kind of my disembodied floating head floating in the dark void.
Yeah, I remember that from the podcast last week. I watched it on Monday, and about halfway through, it was just a head.
Yeah. Yeah, Matthew, don't worry. We will be talking about Comcast and Time Warner Cable.
Yeah.
So let's see. My video game systems aren't hooked up yet. I did play some Pokemon Shuffle though.
Yay. Nice.
I'm actually kind of admiring how Nintendo's handling part of that game, because they do keep adding new things eventually to keep giving you. They'll add a few more stages, or they'll do new events, and they have an event that is both really clever and really stupid. It's called the Pokemon Safari. This one The stage is you never know which Pokemon you're going to get. So you don't know which Pokemon to bring with you. So it's kind of like the game.
Yeah.
Although in the game, you kind of know what types of Pokemon are in which area. Or if you go into the rock gym, they're probably all rock types, so plan accordingly. This you have no idea. It's just going to be a Pokemon that shows up. The problem is it's the same 5 Pokemon. I've caught them all.
Wow.
I expected it to be, or at least, rotate them out every other day or something, or once you've caught 5, then bring 5 more. Because it's like, okay, this thing runs through May 2nd, I think, and now I have almost no reason to play because I got all 4 or 5 Pokemon, and oh well. Yeah, it's a free game. What do you want, Zachary? What
Yeah.
have you been playing anything this week?
Well, this week, over the last couple of weeks, I was playing that Final Fantasy Record Keeper on my phone, and I finished all of the story missions, or all the story levels. It had some levels from Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10. And I beat all the ones they had available for that. And it's like once I beat the last one, they're like, and we'll have new levels soon. And I think it was for Final Fantasy 2, I think was the one they were teasing. And so all that's really left on it are just event missions where you have to, beat these events to get a character or some rare items and stuff. But, the game is just... Yeah, I think I'm done playing it because at this point, the game wants you to grind, like I mentioned last time on the podcast, but it only lets you grind for 30 minutes and then you have to stop and let your stamina recharge. So I'm kind of done with it. So there was that. And then otherwise, I've been playing Minecraft, and I have the house to myself. My wife and kids are at my in-laws' house for a couple of weeks, so they've been gone all week, and they're going to be gone next week. And so I've just been chilling and watching TV and playing Minecraft, and I made my son jealous because in Minecraft there's you've got your main world where you do all your mining and gathering all your equipment and everything, and then there's 2 other worlds that you can travel to. There's the Nether world, where you go there and you can fight unique monsters and get unique materials and crafting materials and stuff. And then there's the end, which is kind of the end of the game, because there's a giant dragon that you have to beat in order to quote unquote win the game. And the thing with the end though is you have to find the portal to it. And the way you're supposed to find the portal to it is, you make your way to the Nether world, and then you kill some monsters there in order to get some items that you got to craft, and then they're kind of ender pearls or something like that. You throw them, and then you get they're kind of a teleporting item. You throw them, and they just go to some random spot on the map, and you get zapped to where it is, and you just keep on doing that, and eventually every time you throw it, they go to the exact same place. And so they always eventually every time you throw it, they'll end up in this same spot, and then you just kind of dig down until you find the end portal. Well, I didn't have to do that. And I was just down in a mine or in a cavern, and just exploring, and then I end up seeing these ruins off in the distance around some lava, and I go in there and I start exploring these ruins, and it turns out that my end portal was there. Told my son that, and he got so jealous because he's like, you're supposed to do this and this in order to find it. I was like, yep, but I didn't have to. So it was really funny, and so Minecraft, there's not a lot of meat to the game, but it's a nice, relaxing game to play, I think. I just enjoy the exploration of it, because all the worlds, every time you create a new world, it's randomly generated. And they've got some really creative algorithms, to make some fun worlds to explore, and so that's what I like doing. And I've done a few of the other things like creating a farm and so I can harvest different food items and stuff. But yeah, I'm just having some fun with that. So that's really all I've been doing with game wise, and otherwise I've been watching Chuck. Did you ever watch Chuck?
It's the guy who gets forced into being a spy because he has like information in his head or something.
Yeah, he gets a, spy database downloaded into his brain, and he becomes a spy. And I'm in season 4 of the 6 seasons, or is there just 5? I can't remember.
Wow, that show lasted a while.
Yeah. Let's see how many seasons is there. But yeah, it's actually really entertaining. Yeah, it's 5 seasons, so I'm on the second to last season, and the show is actually really good. I watched a couple episodes back when it was on the air, and it just didn't really interest me. But I think it was just because I had popped in like season 3 or something like that, and so I was missing a lot. And so I started from the beginning, and I've been enjoying all the geek, all the Easter eggs and stuff, and guest stars from other sci-fi and fantasy shows and movies and stuff. And I think Chuck has the coolest parents ever, because his dad is Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap, and his mom is Sarah Connor from the Terminator movies.
Oh, Linda Hamilton.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
so yeah, it's like really cool. Actors. I thought the Flash had a really cool dad. His dad being the previous Flash, but no, this is even better.
So is that? I knew he had a part, and I forget the actor's name, but I knew he had a
John
part on
Wesley.
this.
Yeah.
John Wesley, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he plays the current Flash's dad.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's not. He has nothing to do with the previous Flash series.
So
But
is he really Barry Jr. or?
no, he's.
Oh, so he wasn't really the Flash.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the previous Flash series, other than some fan theory that that the previous Flash series was an alternate timeline where John Wesley Shipp was actually Barry Allen in the '90s, and became the Flash. Because the theory is that the Trickster, because Mark Hamill reprised his role as the Trickster recently. Right. But the Trickster existed in the '90s in this world, and so the Trickster was just kind of I forget the term now, but the Trickster was an existing element in both worlds. It just so happened that the Flash didn't exist in this new Flash's world at the time, and so he wasn't stopped by the Flash.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, fun fan theories,
but he was stopped without the Flash, which made the Flash completely pointless in his universe.
Well, he was stopped by the Flash, but he did end up killing a lot more people than he did in the Flash series. So, yeah.
Well, give and take. So,
Matthew says that Minecraft is Legos, nothing more, and I would get that, but it has something that Lego doesn't have, which is a pre-existing world to explore. Yes, you just go and collect materials and build things, but the exploration factor is what I like about it.
Well, I'm going to throw out a prediction here. Minecraft, like Lego, will eventually have the little toys that you have to go to buy to unlock stuff. So all the stuff you mine, all the characters and creatures and things that are in the game, you have to go and buy a physical toy and scan it into the game if you want to use that material or that character or that item. Won't that be awesome? Because I'm a huge fan of that.
I bet you are.
Business model.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's still really annoying that Warner Brothers, excuse me, that is it, yeah, Warner Brothers
Yeah, it's Warner.
went that way.
It's why all the properties in Lego Dimensions is, Wizard of Oz and Back to the Future and Lord of the Rings and all the Warner properties.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna suck.
So, okay, let us examine this week's poll. We actually have a lot of Steam news this week.
Yes, we do.
Valve, earlier in the week, decided to, pardon me, try and eliminate or at least significantly reduce malicious spammers and phishers and those types of accounts by withholding services from any account that has spent less than $5 on Steam. Those services include sending group invites, open group chats, voting on greenlight projects, participating in the Steam marketplace, posting frequently, however often that is, in Steam discussions, gaining Steam profile levels, submitting content to Steam Workshop, engaging in Steam Workshop discussions, accessing the Steam Web API, or using browser or mobile chats. So all that stuff gets taken away if you haven't spent at least $5 on Steam. Steam itself says malicious users often operate in the community on accounts which have not spent any money, reducing the individual risk of performing the actions they do. One of the best pieces of information we can compare between regular users and malicious users are their spending habits, as typically the accounts the accounts being used have no investment in their longevity. Due to this being a common scenario, we have decided to restrict certain community features until account has met or exceeded $5 USD in Steam. So the poll this week asks, will limiting Steam services to accounts that have spent less than $5 eliminate spammers? We had 218 people respond this week. 13% said it should get most of them, yeah. 48% said it will make enough of a dent to be worthwhile. 15% said it will have little to no effect, and 24% said possibly, but it's not fair to legitimate accounts that have spent under $5. So, Zachary, where do you fall?
I fall in the last one. It's not fair to legitimate accounts because I fall into this. I have completely been locked out of pretty much every feature of Steam at this point because I have not spent any money directly on Steam. I have spent well over $100, probably a lot more than that, on Humble Bundle games, and have activated about 30 Steam keys on Steam. And so technically I have spent money on games, that are available on Steam. I just haven't bought them from Steam. And so because of that, I can't do anything. And it's not so much that I don't want to spend money on Steam. It's just one, whenever there's a game that I want, it's not available for a price that I'm willing to pay, or when it is, I don't have the money to spend on it. So it's just like, I'm one of those. I'm a picky shopper, and I don't just buy games just to buy them. And so I'm just, it's very disappointing.
The winter Steam sale invariably happens when I'm out visiting my mom, so and the internet ain't good enough out there to browse.
Well, and the winter Steam sale usually happens around Christmas when I have,
no
less money.
Keep in mind, folks, Zachary's really not that cheap. He has 6 children.
Yes, I have a family to worry about. So when I buy games, typically, I buy them cheap, and it's like the last couple of Humble Bundles. There hasn't really been any games on there that I just absolutely had to have, and so I was just like, I ignored those, and it helped that I didn't have the amount of money that I wanted to pay, because I'm typically one of those people that I'll pay at least $10 on a Humble Bundle because I think that's fair, and I'll split it between all the developers and stuff. But I don't like to be cheap unless I just really want the games, and and I don't mind being cheap, which doesn't happen very often. But other than that, it's like the only other games that I've recently wanted on Steam were some games from Zayboyd Games. They make the RPG series or RPG games like Cthulhu Saves the World and Breath of Death 7 and Penny Arcade 3 and 4. And they actually had a sale last week where the two bundles were 50 cents each, basically. And it's like, I probably could have paid the 50 cents, but I still wouldn't have hit $5. And so I still would have been locked out.
Yeah.
And and to be honest, this thing just kind of the main thing I really upset about here is that I can't help greenlight any games now. And there's a lot of games that I like to vote for. I'll go in and vote for certain games on there. Especially if they're from developers that I know. And now I can't do that, and that's kind of sad. It's like how about they let me greenlight these games so that I can spend $5 and buy them when they're available?
Now, aside from being unfair to users who haven't spent $5, at least not through the Steam store directly.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, how effective do you think this method of weeding out spammers and fishers will be?
I think it would actually be fairly successful because the Humble Bundle had something very similar to this, happen, where people would pay like a penny in order to get the Steam keys for the games in the Humble Bundle, and then they would just spam Steam with them, and in the Humble Bundle, in conjunction with Steam, decided that they were going to put a $1 minimum on there in order to get the Steam keys, and that actually that seems to have cut down the spam they were getting through that channel. And so putting a monetary monetary limit on this, I think it actually will be fairly effective. Some people are talking about, people are just going to put $5 in the Steam wallet and in order to do all their spamming and stuff, and I'm like, that's probably not going to happen because spammers typically have hundreds of accounts, and putting $5 in each of those accounts, that's going to be thousands of dollars, and they're not going to want to do that.
Yeah. So, what if they had some type of a grandfathering program? Like if they said from here on out, new accounts have to have $5 worth.
I don't know. I think there needs to be an alternative method. I don't think a grandfathering would be as effective. But if they had a number of games activated plus number of hours played through Steam, I think that would be pretty effective, because I've put a couple of nearly 100 hours into games that I've played through Steam, the Humble Bundle games. I, launch them from the Steam client and play them. And
okay, so instead of the account has spent $5 in the Steam store, it has to be an account that has at least one game in its library and has logged at least X number of hours in any game.
Yeah, I think a minimum number of games and a minimum number of hours would be an effective alternative, because again, a spammer's not going to invest 30 hours per account or whatever they decide the number of hours,
or even if it was 5 or 10 hours per account.
Yeah, even 5 or 10 hours. It's like they're not going to invest that amount of time into a single account unless there's a game that is easily exploitable through bot play. That might be an issue. But yeah, I think having alternative methods in there, or even like I don't know if a friend, friends would be an effective way of doing it, but having accounts that are in the clear, vouching for you. That a certain number of them vouch for you. I think
right. So because Matthew says 10 games and 50 hours minimum, which seems kind of steep for someone just getting into Steam. But if that person had say, two friends who had accounts with 10 games, 50 hours minimum, who, officially vouched for them. Maybe something like that.
Yeah. And so yeah, there's a lot of good alternatives out there, and that don't require money spent, and and just to kind of roll back to these legitimate accounts that haven't spent money. Something that was brought up numerous times was accounts for family members. Like if I decided my son was ready to have a Steam account and I gifted him some games, he wouldn't be a legitimate account because he didn't actually spend the money on those games. I just gifted them to him. I spent the money on them and then gave them to him. He's not, I'm the one in good standing, not him. And that's kind of unfair.
So maybe it could be 10 purchased games or 50 hours of play or something. As Matthew points out, that idle time still counts as playtime in Steam. But I think we're hitting into an area, even with that $5 thing, you're hitting into an area where people who do the spamming and phishing schemes, most of them probably wouldn't bother. Say, okay, we need 30, 100 accounts to just sit there for 10 hours. We've got to buy the cheapest game we can, so $1 or less, 50 cents. That's $50 right there, and we need 50 or 100 computers to sit there for 10 hours each. They may say, not worth our time. But I mean, there will always be spammers. There will always be phishing schemes. But I think this is at least a path towards limiting that without needlessly inconveniencing legitimate users.
Yeah, and I think I think something else. I am not familiar with Steam's reporting tools. It's like if you do get some spammer approaches you on Steam, do they have appropriate appropriate means to report that account? And it's like, how many times does an account need to be reported on, before it gets banned from Steam? Do they have people who actually investigate the activities of accounts that are being reported and stuff? I think that's something else that needs to be looked at and made transparent. And because it's like Twitter, Twitter has had a problem for since its founding with being able to report accounts and stuff, and they're slowly working on that. The last couple of years with all the harassment of certain people has really put a fire under Twitter's
at least a match.
At least a match, but they are taking action. It's not as quickly as a lot of people would want it to be, but they are taking action.
An electric heater pad, perhaps.
Yeah.
So over on YouTube, Jeremy Nelson says, "Hey, anyone there? Anyone going to talk to me?" Hi, Jeremy. There's no reply button, so no one can talk to you. That may be because you don't have a Google Plus account, which is a stupid requirement, but them's the breaks. So, but hello nonetheless. So let us move on to our next topic, which is still on Steam, and oh boy, is this a divisive one. You can now monetize mods on Steam. And some people like this and some people don't. Matthew was asking me a few minutes ago when I mentioned I am usually gone for the Steam winter sale if I'm around for the summer sale. And yes, I am. And this summer, I am very much looking forward to all the heavily discounted mods for sale.
Oh, man.
So, now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am. Is this system only for games that opt into mods for its game being monetizable?
Yes, the publisher or whoever controls the game on Steam has to opt into this. So that's why Skyrim is the first one, because Bethesda has has opted into this service, and so it's like the developer of the game, publisher, whatever, they opt in and they set the rates. Valve takes an automatic 25% cut, but the other 75%, the publisher of the game decides how much goes to the mod creator. And I believe Bethesda has said 25% goes to the mod creator for Skyrim mods. So yeah, so that's the gist of it. The games have to be opted in by the publisher, and they get to set the rates.
Okay.
And then everything else is kind of up in the air at the moment.
The publisher of the game sets the rate for the mod, or the mod creator does?
The publisher, the publisher sets the royalty rate. The mod creator sets the price, but the publisher sets how much the mod creator gets out of the price, and Valve gets an automatic 25%. So.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Good idea? Bad idea?
I think it's a great idea, because there's a lot of mod creators out there that spend pretty much, they spend a lot of time in creating mods for games they love, and it's the equivalent of either, an indie development house or sometimes a full-time job with these guys. The Defense of the Ancients was a very popular mod for Warcraft 3, and the developer spent a lot of time developing that mod and making it what it has become. It's become a genre now, and I think it would have been great if that guy could have made money off the mod rather than having to wait until he could make an actual standalone game off of that. Because making money off the mod would have accelerated the standalone game. So that's a great idea, and so people who create good mods deserve to make something off of it if that's their wish.
This is obviously going to flood the mod market with a bunch of really, really crap mods.
And it already has.
And it already has, much like what we saw with XBlig, Xbox Live indie games, yeah,
in the Apple Store
but that's every service. I mean, you even see that on the Wii U eShop. Nintendo has not exactly opened its doors to every developer who wants to publish something on the eShop, but it's a lot easier than it was in years past. And as such, there are some pretty crappy games on the eShop, on XBlig, on anywhere that Joe Blow can publish something and charge $1 for it. So,
or charge more than $1,
or charge
in
more
certain
than
cases. Like Kotaku put together a list of the 10 crappiest paid mods, and one of them is a golden potato, and it's like that's all it is it just adds a golden potato to the item, item spawned. Another one was extra apple, which all it does is put an extra apple on a counter in a certain pub. And
if the mod is clear that that's what it is, then I don't know why anyone would buy it other than self-loathing.
Well, that's exactly it. A lot of these look like they're people just making fun of the paid service. They're doing something so simple and so stupid and benign and charging $10 for it. Another mod that I saw, somebody posted a picture of it on Twitter, was horse genitalia. They added horse genitalia to the game, and I'm like, okay.
I'd buy that for $1. Matthew says the charging for mods thing is a good idea, and shame on, I think that's supposed to be Bethesda. For taking 50%. I'm guessing Skyrim is, if you want to make a mod, 50% is going to Bethesda, huh? Wow, that is steep.
Yeah, that is very steep, and
them horse dongs better be ultra high res.
But I don't know about, I think Bethesda, that's probably well within their wheelhouse to charge, 50% on the mod. I wouldn't have expected them to take anything less. But for a smaller developer, somebody like the developers of Rust or something along DayZ or something, I would expect them to take something less, just because they have a very cozy relationship with their fans, and they know they like their fans and want their fans to invest more time, and I think they are likely to take less than 50% cut off of their mods for their games.
What I want to do is I want to publish a game on Steam. I guess there's Steam Greenlight or something. I'm just going to publish Mod the Game, which is exactly that. It's just books for mods. There's no actual game to mod the game. It's up to you to make a mod, and I just reap 50% of what people pay for your mods. I think this is a great idea.
That would actually be kind of funny to see if that happens now. I doubt it would, because Steam does take, they filter their games. They go through, and they probably won't accept a game like that. Real Next Gen Vixen asks, why does Bethesda need to take a cut from mods? Have they run out of money? Did everyone just suddenly stop playing WoW? I'm not sure what WoW has to do with this, because WoW is an active Blizzard game. But Bethesda is just a AAA publisher, taking money from every nook and cranny is what they do. If there's money on the table, they will take it, unless that money is money from developing games for the Wii U.
Yeah, they don't want any of that money. That money has gamer cooties on it.
Yeah, and Matthew says that the split should be 25, 25, 50, which I assume means 25 for Steam, 25 for Bethesda, and 50 for the mod creator. And I think some of the smaller and more indie style developers will do something closer to
Probably.
that.
So we had Next Gen Vixen says whoops. Don't worry about it. What's the big Bethesda does have a big MMO though? Did they? Which one did they do? Do they? No, they did.
I don't know. Do they have a Skyrim MMO?
well, Elder Scrolls Online.
Maybe
it's online. I don't know.
I'll have to look that up.
If everyone woke up one day and stopped playing World of Warcraft, that would mean everyone just
they've got the Elder Scroll Online. I don't know if that's still live or not, but
I don't know. But yeah, there are so many games, so many publishers. Don't worry about it. I get them all confused too. So while people have been yelling about this all week, the first controversy, so to speak, already happened, and we had someone did a fishing mod for Skyrim, but it used assets from someone else's mod without their permission. So the person who took the other mod stuff without permission took the mod and all of the comments on the mod down. So they had a minor controversy there.
Yeah, and that's bound to happen. That was brought up a couple of times on various sites. It's like, what about all these mods to add other IPs to games? Like there was the okay, now I forget the name, but certain mods, to change the dragons to have other people's faces on them, and to bring
dragon genitalia. We need dragon dogs.
Yeah. To bring like Mario and Zelda and stuff into Skyrim. People have made mods like that, and and of course those are not going to be allowed to be monetized, because one of the rules for doing this is that you have to own all the IP rights outside of what's actually Bethesda stuff.
Mm,
You have to be the copyright owner of all this new content you've created, and that's the problem with this guy's mod. Was I think a lot of it was just animation rigging. Like he just used some other guy's animation rigs for his stuff,
mm,
and that's what happened, and that's, I think that's bound to happen a couple of times, and and I doubt there's anything that we can do to stop that 100%.
yeah.
But this is a good start, to be able to quickly resolve this and get games pull or get mods pulled that violate somebody's IP rights.
Yeah.
Just as long as they don't let anybody decide to just pull stuff outright,
Hmm.
not like YouTube's Content ID.
Yeah. Vixen and Matthew point out that Elder Scrolls Online is still live. So
Okay.
good if you like that game. I know almost zero about it. I've never been an Elder Scrolls fan. I've always admired this series, but I've never been a fan of actually playing the games.
Yeah.
And I've
Well, I
never
saw it
been
at a
into the
yard sale
MMOs.
today. I saw a Skyrim at a yard sale today for PS3 for $10, and I contemplated buying it, but I was just like, yeah, I just don't really care that much about Bethesda stuff, and so I skipped it.
Hmm. So, all right, let us move on to a new topic. And this next one shouldn't take too long, I don't think. Killing Floor 2 has a unique EULA. In that it says if you are cheating or being a real schmuck online to your fellow gamers, we will revoke your license to play Killing Floor 2 and you can go suck eggs. It's interesting the way this is worded. It says, if we find you are a cheater or abusive, we will revoke your CD key and ban you from the Killing Floor 2 servers and tell your mom. Your license will automatically terminate without notice, and you will have no right to play KF2 or any KF2 mods against any other players or make any other use of KF2. End of story. Now, that to me sounds like you can't play the game, period, even though you bought it. And that
Yeah.
I'm not, can't play it online against other people. Uh,
That's
that's
completely
fine. That's
understandable.
fair. If you
Yeah.
can't play nice with other people, you don't get to play with other people. But if there is a single player mode, which the website says there is, and it's offline, which it damn well should be if it's single player mode, you hear me, EA?
Mhm.
Then the schmucks should be able to still play that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's perfectly reasonable. They should, that should be how things are. Single player shouldn't require online authentication, and nothing you do in a game should ban you from single player. This is not quite the same, but it does remind me of when EA would ban people from its forums for abusive actions in its forums, which also banned them from all their games that were available to them. Or maybe was that EA or
I think
somebody
that was
else?
Blizzard, wasn't it?
Was it Blizzard?
Was
I don't
that
know.
Blizzard net thing? I remember what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, and
People were the forum account was tied to the actual game account, so when they banned you on the forum, they ended up banning you from the game.
yeah, and that kind of stuff just drives me nuts because there's zero reason that should be allowed to happen. And this is one of the reasons why I buy games that have no DRM, because if the game doesn't have DRM, I can't be banned from playing the game. And I'm free to do whatever I want with the game too, other than commit copyright infringement.
Someone is defacing IGN's Dead Nation wiki, but unfortunately, I don't have time to clean that up or ban the user. So hopefully, someone else on the
Dead
team
Nation.
gets to that. Dead Nation, yeah, of all games. So Matthew says the single player mode is only teaming up with bots. Well, that's fine.
I think more competitive multiplayer games need to have bots in them.
Oh
so
yeah,
that you can play by yourself.
mm-hmm.
As long as the bots are good. If they're crappy bots, it's not going to be worth your time. But the bots need to be good, and it would be nice to be able to set skill levels per bot rather than skill levels for the entire thing. Yeah.
Perfect Dark back on the N64 had some really, for the time, some really complex bots that you could
Yeah.
adjust how smart they were, how they played, things like that. So,
Yeah.
Real Next Gen Vixen says there are better ways to make sure players are being nice to one another. The League of Legends system works really well, rewarding players for playing well with others. Yeah, we've talked about this a bit on the podcast, how sometimes it's probably better to reward people for being good rather than punishing people for being bad. Gamify being a decent human being,
Yeah,
because we
exactly.
gamers love that stuff. You give us an achievement for being a wonderful person and we will work for it.
Yeah,
So it's a very
definitely.
good point.
Yeah.
So, okay, let us move on. Let's see what's next. Okay, so Comcast has abandoned the Time Warner merger. Let me see if I can find that. Here's what this was: a $45 billion deal between Comcast and Time Warner Cable to join forces and take over the world and create a monopoly and make all of our lives miserable. But Comcast said, today we move on. Of course, we would have liked to bring our great products to new cities, but we'd structured this deal so that if the government didn't agree, we could walk away. Now, what I commented was, you can still bring your damned great products to new cities. You just have to compete. Yeah,
Exactly.
schmucks.
Yeah, this whole merger was just all about expanding their user base without actually having to do any work. They were just out there to get all of Time Warner's customers and then roll them into their never-ending horror story, which is Comcast customer service.
Oh man, there have been some really bad stories in the last year alone
Oh
for,
yeah,
for
it's
Comcast
been
customers.
pretty terrible for Comcast customer service lately, and but yeah, and this is just something that the big problem is that nobody trusts Comcast. When they merged with NBC slash Universal,
Mhm.
they were supposed to live up to certain expectations about content and services and stuff, and then they basically violated all of those within the first year.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you didn't do what we said last time, why are we going to let you do this again? um yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. The problem we have in the U.S., with broadband services, there's just a complete lack of competition. Most places only have one, two, maybe three if they're lucky, ISPs slash entertainment service providers, and really that's not very much. When it's just you and one other company, there you have very little incentive to compete,
Yeah.
because you'll have, it's a lot easier to um, come to agreements, without so much as agreeing on things, and just kind of lock prices into things. And that's something that Google has done a very good job at stirring the pot, because with their Google Fiber, and a lot of other companies are like, well, crap, Google's starting to become a threat. Maybe we should make some adjustments to our pricing policies and stuff. And so yeah, they a
15
lot of
years later when Google actually gets here.
yeah. So
Mhm.
competition is good. Mergers between two of the largest cable providers is not good, because it reduces competition.
Right. As Tom Wheeler, the head of the FCC, said, preventing the merger is in the best interests of consumers. The proposed transaction would have created a company with the most broadband and the video subscribers in the nation, alongside the ownership of significant programming interests. Matthew points out that Comcast, he says, while the merger was bad, Comcast does have better internet than Time Warner Cable. However, if Time Warner Cable and Comcast existed in the same area, not as one entity, but as separate entities, maybe Time Warner Cable would up its game.
Yeah. And that's exactly what would happen. Take when I lived in my last house, we had only one ISP provider, and it was a DSL provider, and they pretty much had the same rates and data plans for not just the 8 years we lived there, but also the 10 years before that. They every once in a while they would add a new top tier, but it's like the prices were crap. For a 3 megabit per second connection, I was paying the same amount that Cox users were paying to get a 20 megabit per second internet connection. And and there was just no incentive for this company to compete because no other internet providers were there, at least outside of wireless internet providers, which aren't competitors to landline ISPs. But yeah, it's just competition is good. Losing competition is bad.
Yeah. Monopolies are better. Matthews asked us if we're going to talk about Google Fi. I don't know what that is, so I
Google
can't talk
Fi,
about
I think, is a wireless service they were providing.
it.
Um,
Oh.
I
Oh, and
saw it like,
Google Wi-Fi, Google Fi. Okay.
yeah, I saw it. Oh, Google Fi. Okay. Yeah, Google Fi is a service that they offer, or that's going to be available on their new Google Nexus phones. And I think it's going to be available for other stuff too, but it's basically a wireless service that they're offering. I don't know a whole lot about it because I've only seen the news on a couple of spots, but I haven't actually read extensively about it. But yeah.
It sounds Google Fi sounds like you're changing something to make it more Google. Like we're going
Yeah,
to take this video service and Google Fi it.
I don't know how accurate this article is, but it says the network automatically identify and connect to the fastest and most reliable network, whether that's a public or private Wi-Fi hotspot or a network of a carrier partner, Sprint or T-Mobile. All transmissions over Wi-Fi networks are automatically and fully encrypted. The plans start with a basic plan of $20 per month that includes unlimited domestic talk and text, unlimited international text, low-cost international calls, and Wi-Fi tethering. Add data by the gigabyte at a rate of $10 per gigabyte. Don't use all the data you added in the billing period. $1 per 100 unused megabytes is refunded to you. So that's actually a good deal. International data costs the same at home as it does in 120 other international destinations. So it's actually a pretty decent plan if you're in a good Sprint and T-Mobile area. But but the thing is you have to have the Nexus phone. It's not available on any other phone. Yeah. So
Okay. Well, let us move on to it's 7 o'clock, so this will probably be our last topic, and that is the honey badgers got booted from the. It's Canada, so I have to say booted from the Calgary Expo. Zachary, had you ever heard of the group the Honey Badgers before this week? I
I
had
have
not.
not.
No, okay. I was wondering if I was out of the loop, so maybe we're both
No.
out of the loop. I'd never heard of them. Anyway, Honey Badgers got a booth at last week's Calgary Expo. They actually signed up under a name other than the Honey Badgers, and they did this for. Well, you could look at it in a couple different ways. You could say that now they have, depending on who you ask, major or very loose association with men's rights activist a website called A Voice for Men. I've said that I've heard that they're affiliated with them. I've heard they used to be affiliated with them. I have no idea. I don't know who A Voice for Men is either, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, one of the Honey Badgers has a web comic, and they registered their booth under that name. And they did that either because they were trying to be sneaky, or because they knew they'd be unfairly discriminated against. Not sure if that's okay either way, but not my convention, so I don't have to worry about it. So anyway, they went to the convention. I think at some point they actually submitted their real name. So in the exhibitor list, it did actually say Honey Badger Brigade, but it's still linked to the webcomic instead of the Honey Badger's site. So they set up a booth, and they had a few different Honey Badger posters, and one of the posters was of Vivian James, who is the cartoon character who is the somewhat mascot of Gamergate, I guess. Which a lot of people, a lot of people are like, I don't like Gamergate. So if you have a picture of Vivian James that reminds me of Gamergate, and that's bad. Vivian James, the character wears a purple and red, purple and green,
purple and
pink, purple and pink. Purple and green. That's right. Piccolo's colors, because I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, right? Yu Yu Hakusho is awesome. Dragon Ball Z sucks. So if you are a longtime fan of 4chan, you might know, I didn't because I'm not. I had to learn this. There was a GIF, a little animated looping video of Piccolo, a purple and green alien monster, raping the heck out of
Goku.
The blonde, spiky-haired, that guy who's over 9,000. Because this particular GIF was posted day in, day out in every single thread, to the point where people would repost pictures coloring them green and purple to get people to mentally identify with that rape animation. So those colors began to signify rape. So a lot of people think that's why Vivian James wears those colors, because it's kind of an inside rape joke, and that's just another level of why this is distasteful. So the Honey Badgers went to a panel at I don't know why this helps me think, but went to a panel called Women in Video Games, and some people have described what they did there as hijacking or derailing the conversation into men's rights activism propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Some would characterize it as MRAs were brought up by the panelists, and the Honey Badgers responded to that. So the Calgary Expo decided to boot the Badgers out of, ask them to leave. And on Twitter, they just kept repeating, "We are promoting a safe environment with equality and rainbows and unicorns." And of course, the Honey Badgers didn't take kindly to that, because they say they felt that they were being unfairly discriminated against.
Yeah.
So that is the story as I understand it from looking into it. If I have any details wrong, and that's totally possible, sorry.
That sounds pretty much what I know.
Yeah. Now, I think the question comes, regardless of intent, regardless of what the Honey Badgers do or do not represent, do you think that their actions warranted being kicked out of and from what I understand, banned from any future Calgary Expos?
I think it kind of depends. Like I have absolutely no idea the extent of the whole thing. Part of it was just the Calgary Expo operators felt that the Honey Badgers got their booth under false pretenses. That they said they reserved the booth under one name with the intent of promoting the Honey Badgers, which is something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went into these panels not with the intent to learn and help educate people, but to change the message from what the speakers were wanting to what they wanted to talk about, and that's a big no-no. If you're going to a panel, you're there to interact with the panelists and let them direct the conversation. But from what I understand, the honey badgers were disrupting it to the point that they were controlling the conversation in the panel room. And that's and I think getting kicked out of an event for doing that is perfectly reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not against them being kicked out. I think banned from the Calgary Expo forever, I feel is probably too far or unnecessary. Granted, I don't have all the info. I did read a transcript of the panel. I didn't watch video of it. I didn't have time. I did read a transcript, and from what I read, now now what was said at the panel was was civil and polite. It was not shouting down. It was not argumentative. Not really argumentative. It was passionate, but it was not just yelling at other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's clear from what was said, how it was said, and from some other things I've read from the Honey Badgers on its site, on their individual Twitter feeds, that they went, and this is my impression, that they went specifically to soapbox at the panels. Like you said, they weren't at the panels to engage in the actual panel discussion. They weren't there to ask, to learn, and if they had a question, ask it and listen to the panel's response, maybe have a follow-up question, and then go about their day. They went there with the specific intention of soapboxing, of promoting their own ideas and opinions, which at the very least is uncouth.
Yeah.
And I think registering your booth under a different name, even if you did it solely because you were afraid you would be unfairly discriminated against, them's probably the rules. So I'm not really against them being kicked out, although I think just a stern talking to would be like, look, folks, you're welcome to be here. That particular poster is making people uncomfortable. Take the one poster down. And don't disrupt any panels. You're welcome to attend the panels. You're welcome to ask questions. Don't soapbox. Give them one shot. And if they do the same thing at the next panel, just chuck them out. Now, what the Honey Badgers should have done, if this is a possibility, and I don't know, was get their own damn panel at the Calgary Expo so that they could soapbox and talk about what they want to talk about and promote the ideas and ideals and opinions that are important to them. I don't know how possible or how easy it is to actually.
I think it depends on the. I think it depends on the expo. Most expos will have a certain number of panel slots, and they want and depending on the organizers, they'll want to hit specific areas of discussion in each of those. They have an idea of what they want each of those panels to be, and they'll find somebody to talk about it. But usually, if they have some open slots and they can't find anybody to fill them, they'll ask their vendors and exhibitors if they would like to host a panel and what would they like to talk about. And so that might have been a possibility. I don't know how well a panel about men's rights or whatever they wanted to talk about would have gone down with the organizers, whether they would have been okay with it. But yeah, it was it's a possibility if they feel that they have a message to share. Ask if they can have a panel. That's perfectly reasonable to me, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think but going back to the booth registering, if they have to register a booth because they feel that if they have to register a booth under a different name because they feel their primary name would be unfairly discriminated against, perhaps that either you have a problem with your messaging and your PR under that other name, and you really need to think hard about what you're doing, or that event is not the event for you to to set up a table at. And that's just something that I find bizarre. It's like they felt that they couldn't do it under their existing name, and why even get the booth to begin with if you feel you can't do it, or find a different thing. But and that's just just a sad truth. And to be honest, I don't know of any expo provider that wants to have a controversial booth at their event. They would probably be open to it, but if they're going to get an earful, they might just say, no, we don't want you here, to begin with. And that's probably what would have happened had they registered the booth under Honey Badgers.
Yeah, my panel is called Lolicon and You.
Yeah.
So go ahead and Google that, kids, if you don't know what that means. So there was actually a lot of news this week, but we're 15 past the hour, so I think we'll wrap it up now.
Yeah.
So let us
plug 5
our...
past the hour on the actual podcast, but yeah.
Oh, actually, that's true, because we did blabber for 8 minutes or so. So let us plug our stuffs and get out of here. So Andrew Eisen here, Eisen is how you spell the last name. At Andrew Eisen is the Twitter handle. Andrew Eisen YouTube is the Facebook page. And type my full name into YouTube and you'll find my videos. Starting May 1st, I believe, I will be doing a series I've been wanting to do for a while called 30 Days of Netflix. I'm using a free trial to watch a new movie every single day and yammer about it. I've actually done 3 episodes so far. So if you have recommendations, know that I'm probably 5 to 10 episodes ahead of where you're watching. So yeah, I know pretty much which movies I'm going to be watching, but recommend stuff that's fine. I may say, oh, that I need to see, and throw it into the rotation.
Jackie Chan's Operation Condor.
I've seen that.
Armor of God. That's another good one.
Seen that too. Matthew asked, no talking about Marvel and Telltale. Well, I can talk about that real quick. Marvel and Telltale are partnering up to do video games. So
that's all the news that there's out there.
That's it. So there will be a Marvel Telltale game, much like there's a Walking Dead Telltale game, Jurassic Park, Game of Thrones, Borderlands, which I wish excited me, but I just don't like Telltale's games. Some of them have worked for me. I thought the Wallace and Gromit ones were pretty good. I played the first episode of both Back to the Future, which I thought was pretty good, and the Secrets of Monkey Island adventure game. I thought that was a little obtuse, but still pretty good. I can't stand The Walking Dead. I am alone on this. I know. I'm a horrible gamer.
I've never played it, so.
But oh man, I do not like. So unless Telltale does something radically different with whatever this Marvel licensed game is going to be, I'm probably not going to play it, because they really are more visual novels than they are games. If that makes any sense, lately at least. And people praise the writing and the characters, and I don't agree. I think The Walking Dead is kind of terrible. I mean, like, I'd go so far as to say, from a narrative standpoint, incompetently plotted. And I know I'm like the only one who thinks that, so I'm probably wrong. I mean, I doubt it's like, oh, Andrew's the only one who really gets it. Everyone else is a fool. No, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Matthew says some are hoping for The Runaways. That would, for those who don't know, The Runaways is a comic series. It's actually been optioned, and I think it was actually in production at least once. It's about a group of kids who find out that they're the children of a bunch of supervillains, so they team up to stop their parents. It's a really cool idea, and hopefully someone will do something with it someday. But
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the kind of story that could make for a really great TV series.
good, yeah.
Maybe a Netflix style 13 episode series. But yeah, it's it'd be interesting to see what happens. I've never played a Telltale game in my life, unless Sam and Max is Telltale. But
I played Sam and Max too,
yeah,
and there's no game that it's actually funny. I mean, it is
yeah.
genuinely funny. There's just no game there.
I don't know. It was very much like Sam and Max Hit the Road, where it was just talking to people and figuring out which items interacted with other items and stuff, and
Barely.
very classic adventure game.
Well, maybe I just played the wrong episode because I think the one I played was episode 4 or something. It was the one with the Abe Lincoln statue.
Oh yeah,
And I think there's like literally 2 puzzles in that entire episode. The rest of it is just talking to people, which is fine in a way because the dialogue is funny and the characters are incredibly charming. But when I'm playing a video game, I want to play a video game, and I love adventure games and point and click adventure games, and these for me personally just don't have enough game in the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but they are very popular, and I'm glad people love them. They're just not for me for the most part. So anyway, that's my stuff. 30 Days of Netflix. I think that I'll start those May 1st. So far, I've watched Bring Me the Head of the Chainsaw, Machine Gun Woman. Bring Me the Head of the Machine Gun Woman. Robot and Frank. And just a couple hours ago, I watched Nosferatu, which is a silent film from the early 20s that I had never seen before.
Well,
so,
it's the movie that started basically every Dracula trope that we have these days, because a lot of the stuff, the dying in the sunlight and stuff like that, didn't exist in the Bram Stoker novel. And we got a lot of that from the Nosferatu movie.
Yeah, it's a very loose adaptation and an unofficial. I think they got sued over it at some point.
Yeah, they did.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it is terrible. It is absolutely horrible movie. I'm glad I watched it though. It's absolutely fascinating from a film history standpoint.
Yeah.
But oh man, that thing does not work.
Metropolis is another good one if you get a chance
Fritz
to watch
Lang's.
that.
That's what I've seen the anime, which
I
is
believe
really great.
Netflix has the original Metropolis and then the recent re-edit of Metropolis.
Oh yeah, I'll probably add that to the list. It's good if it's on there. It's a good idea. Citizen Kane is another one I've never seen, but it's not on Netflix, so I can't watch it. Real Next Gen Vixen asks if I played Strong Bad's cool game for attractive people. Yeah, I did, and that one was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's been on my list for a while, and I keep meaning to buy it whenever I have the chance, but just doesn't happen.
I say it was actually pretty good from the perspective of someone who had before that never heard of Strong Bad or Homestar Runner. I was not familiar with that property at all. Homestar Runner actually kind of predates my experience really with the internet. So
yeah, I had to play catch up with Homestar Runner a while back, and it's sad that it took that like 4-year hiatus or something longer than that. But,
yeah, Matthew asks if we ever played Lost Kingdoms. I've not.
I've never heard of it. I might have heard of it, but it just doesn't ring any bells at the moment.
So, Zachary, plug your stuff.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, and you can also follow DK_gaming on Twitter. That's for DivineKnightGaming.com. My game development stuff. I'm slowly working on some games, and depending on what happens with certain legislation, I might be starting working on a different game than what my current project is. But yeah, I'm making some games, so check out what I'm doing there. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter, and it's okgamedev.com. So there you go.
All right. One quick note from YouTube before we leave. Marcloud asks, "Are you writing a guide for Xenoblade Chronicles X?" Hell no, no, absolutely not. That would take me forever.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's like 100 hours.
if
Typical play on Xenoblade for the Wii.
at least. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't finish the game. I got distracted. I'm actually going to go back to it probably after I finish the 30 days of Netflix thing. I was 30 hours into the game, and I reached the Nopon village. And what happened was there were like, a dozen of the little fuzzy Nopon guys. And I'm the kind of guy who will talk to absolutely every single person in town a couple of times until I'm certain they're not saying anything new. I'll wait for the data cycle and then I'll talk to them again to see if so I'm that kind of guy. But at that point, I had just spent like 45 minutes mapping the entire water. It's one of the games where you get the map fills in as you move.
Hmm.
And there's this huge Niagara Falls area nearby. So you swam laps back and forth in front of the waterfall, filling in the map for 45 minutes. So I got to the No Pond Village, and I was like, "Nope, I am not talking to each one of these little jerks." And I shut it off. I just never got back to it. But I looked at a Let's Play from, I think his name is Chugga Conroy, and I looked at how long his series was. And it's like over 100 episodes. I think
Oh
when I
wow.
last looked at it, it was in the 80s somewhere, and he reached the point where I had stopped by about episode 30, which means 30 hours into the game, I was at best a third of the way through. So that is a long game.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but I have done guides for some super long games like Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I did the guide for. Whew, man, that took me like a solid 2 months. I did the guide for Hyrule Warriors, which took me 7 weeks. I think I logged 170 something hours in Hyrule Warriors and well over 200 for Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, and that's just game time. That's not actually writing the guide. So yeah, those are big projects, and I should stop doing them because I think the Monster Hunter one, I lost 10 pounds writing that guide because I didn't eat. I was too busy writing the damn guide, um, which
Yeah,
is
I
not
think my
healthy,
wife
kids.
would
Don't
kill
do
me
that.
if I were doing guides like that, because yeah, she already threatens to kill me when I'm up late 3 or 4 times a week writing or developing games. So yeah, but yeah, I don't think I could ever do that. Yeah.
Santiago, Santiago Cali. Man, I can't read. Says 350 plus hours for Xenoblade X if you want to do everything from what he's heard. Wow. And I'm one of those jerks who must complete every quest. If Xenoblade Chronicles X is great, that's going to occupy unless I hit a wall somewhere, like I get to a Nopon village. I'm like, nope on that's going to take up a ton of time, but hey, no Zelda this year, so I'll probably have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is it from us, so thank you all for watching us this week and hope to see you next week. Take care.
All right. See ya.